Hello, classmates. This is my opportunity to speak to you about cloud computing. Cloud computing is something that mystifies a lot of people and they don't understand and makes it very hard for them to get a grasp on it. So, this is my chance to give you an explanation, a light explanation of what it is and why people should go to it and why they are going to it. Let me give you a little bit of information on what cloud computing is. Cloud computing is basically resources that are out on the internet. I know you hear the word cloud. It's best way to describe what's out on the internet because most people don't know how the infrastructure is built. It's just a bunch of plumbing out there where traffic goes everywhere. Well, with cloud computing, you just got strategically placed data centers all over the world, not just the United States, but all over the world that has a good, strong internet access. And what you do is you actually just move your data over there. It does not give you lost control of your data. It doesn't make you lose functionality or anything like that. Most of these companies are just giving you resources. Their job is to maintain an uptime for you so that way you can function. That's all cloud computing is. Your data is moving from your home or your business to the internet, to a data center. Let's start off with one of the reasons why we do move to cloud computing. Savings is one of the big ones. Most companies are most concerned about their bottom line. And with the bottom line, it affects how much they make and how much profit they make. With cloud computing, moving the data to the cloud, it offloads what they call capital expenses. Capital expenses is the money they must have on hand to make sure they pay, replace, update everything on there. So all that equipment that's in the cloud, if they kept it on site, that would be their capital expenses, and they constantly have to maintain reserves for that. It becomes a very big expense, especially if hardware tends to fail or hardware is not reliable. Then they have to find other solutions, which ends up causing them to have to buy more have more capital expenses. Indirectly ends up taking loans out to make sure the company functions. That's not a good way to operate for them. So with moving to cloud computing, you now have moved all your resources and hardware to the cloud. Have a data center take care of it. The data center does all the savings in there. They do the functioning, the refreshing of the hardware, everything. So that takes it off to you. So what you end up doing is just paying a monthly fee. I know that's kind of hard to understand why I'm moving money from here to there, but with operation expenses, which are expenses that you use to operate, tends to be a lot cheaper, a lot more functional, a lot more dynamic, capable for you. It's just like, let's say for XM services, you have XM services, you've got the full blown package, and you're not using it all. We can cut back easily. I went from $20 a month to $10 a month for what I need to use, kind of like an a la carte. You probably have heard that for cable. That is one of the best ways for companies to be dynamic, functional, and quick to operate. And that's why a lot of them are going to cloud computing. Another thing is also redundancy. Redundancy is a big deal. Now, most of you guys are concerned with redundancy being like a USB hard drive connected to your computer. Yeah, that's part of it, but that's only a small part. With these companies, they have to have uptime. Uptime's a big deal. Just because my computer died and I got all my data backed up doesn't mean I operate. So with cloud computing, since it has multiple connections to the internet, not just one, multiple power sources, every kinds of ways you could think of, they maintain an uptime. In traditional way, all your data would be at your corporate office and the internet goes down, everybody stops working. Not a good way to operate. So now with moving into cloud computing, they're not only their data is in a safe place, it is now also accessible for everyone. So downtime is almost non-existent, except if the internet went down, but I think we'd have bigger problems than we do now. We would do with losing it. It's also another thing to keep in mind is, as I made the example, is a hard drive connected to your computer via USB. Your data is in a cloud, quote unquote, at a data center, which is being replicated at another data center and replicated at another data center, all in your secure portion of your services that you're paying for. it's really important for your data to be replicated. What if they had a natural disaster? Maybe even something like a water sprinkler going off in the data center. That's a big deal. The data center's down, it's damaged everything. So that's the last thing you want to do is have your data in one spot. Example, hard drive, data, USB, that drive goes down, you've lost it all. But in multiple data centers, it's still accessible somewhere else. The last thing, in which most of you I know you're concerned about and you're learning about it, is security. Now, I know you've heard a lot of companies being accessed and being exposed, but a lot of them is because their own data is being saved at their own data center. It is not in cloud computing. Most of it's at their data center and they're responsible. What becomes the dilemma is that this is where your security knowledgeable people are watered down. Instead of being at one data center in the cloud or a couple of data centers, now they're at different companies, so the expertise gets spread out. So when the expertise gets spread out like that, you don't get the quality of security knowledge at a company. It's not that it's a bad thing, it's that now times are changing. History is repeating itself. Technology always repeats. Some of you may be old enough to remember the old mainframe. Yes, you had a dumb terminal and you worked at it, but all of it was maintained at the mainframe. The mainframe was where all your data was taken care of, and you only had a handful of people on staff that took care of the security of it. It's the same idea. Another example I'd give you to make you a little more comfortable is worry about phone systems, your phone. Your phone used to be in the cloud too. You had a CO down the street from you, you plugged in the wall, there's your cloud. Yes, that was the 70s and 80s, but again, it was all secured at the CO. Everything was taken care of. So history is just repeating itself. Security is a big deal. And with you having a concentration of security and knowledge at the data center, it tends up being better, especially lately with all the data access that you have seen on the news lately. A lot of the cloud businesses have stepped up their security just to maintain more comfort to them. I know it's still a concern to you, but that's just the way it's changing. And to me, it's a recommendation to think about it when you're concerned about how your company operates, or even just you and individually. Most of you got important pictures. It'd be nice to be able to have it in multiple places and instead of just at home. If you keep it on a server at home, your internet's down, you're traveling, you have no pictures to share. Well, in the cloud, it is. So, not to make this a selling point or anything, this was more of this is how cloud works. Get you a kind of a visibility how it operates and such, so that you're not so concerned and scared about it. Most fears are caused by not knowing. When you know, you feel a little bit better and your decisions are a little bit better. It's not 100%. It's not always the best solution, but it is a good option if you think about it. It always gives you uptime. You always have redundancy, backup of your data, and you've always got a good knowledgeable staff on security for all your information. I hope this was really helpful for you. I know normally when I do a presentation for something like this, it ends up taking a week because we go in more details, but this was a high level and gave you a chance to actually see what actually cloud computing is. Thank you.